Welcome to the Expansion Blueprint series. I'm Dr. Nkem Ezamama, and it's really nice to see everyone here today. Thank you so much for coming, and I want to tell you that it's going to be a fantastic evening. So what we're doing here is over the next 4 weeks, we're going to journey together on something that I think will fundamentally transform how you think about success, freedom, impact. It's not just another, work-life balance series. It's really about creating an entirely new way of achieving, of living, of dreaming, and of leading. Like I said before, you heard me say it again, use the chat to ask questions. I would love for you guys to engage. My team will pull out the questions, but I anticipate that this is going to be a really interactive session, so please use the chat. Also take notes. I said it before, pull out a sheet of paper, a pen, and just kind of, there's tons of useful information that I want to give to you guys. So take notes, ask questions. Right now, we will post 2 worksheets. It's part of a whole workbook that will kind of come together at the end of the 4-part series. So you will get access to it. So if you are on your phone, if you're on a laptop, I think there's a button called Links or Apps. If you click on it, you should be able to get access to it. And if you're on your phone, I think it says More. So click on that, and then you should be able to see it. Will someone just let me know if they have access to it, if they can see it? So if you're at home and you can, print this, and we'll kind of walk through it together. And if you're on your phone, just take a look at it, and then take some time towards the week, middle of the week, or even the weekend when you have some time to really review everything that I'm saying. So let me show you exactly where we're headed. Session 1, which is today, which is breaking the success trap. Janelle said on my phone, More says no files in the document. It should be coming very soon. Okay, perfect. Alice says I can see it. Janelle, check again and see if you can see it. But it should be coming. Okay, so I'll keep going. Session 1, we're going to talk about breaking the success trap. And what we'll do there is we'll identify really what's holding you back. And I want to give you a hint. It's not what you think. And then we'll create your breakthrough strategy. You'll discover why traditional success isn't enough and what's possible when you start thinking about breaking free. In session 2, we'll talk about designing your freedom. And this is where possibility really becomes reality. And you'll create your freedom architecture from time mastery to wealth building, things that serve your life. And you will learn exactly how to build the systems that work while you sleep or while you work. And then session 3 is living with purpose. This is where everything comes together. You'll discover really how to turn your passion into prosperity, and you'll create meaningful achievements while you're actually making a difference. It feels like you're making a difference. And this session really transforms our good intentions, our hopes, our dreams into actual impact. And then session 4, which I think is my favorite, is we'll bring it all together into this personal expansion roadmap. And you'll leave with a clear 90-day action plan and a support system that will actually make it happen. So this is just something really cool. And throughout this journey, you'll have everything that you need to succeed. I told you just got access to 2 of the 2 worksheets in the whole workbook. You have implementation guides. You'll get a success partner system that we'll create. And then you have direct support access to me, and then community connection. We'll talk about all of that. But every concept comes with practical tools and then immediate implementation. So today in session 1, we're starting with the most crucial step, which is breaking free from the success trap that's holding you back from your true potential. In the next 90 minutes or so, you'll discover exactly what's possible when you step into your expansive life. Are you ready to begin? I'm pretty excited. I hope you are too. So 72%. I want you to pause and really let that number sink in. Because behind every statistic is a story, and this might be your story. 72% of high achievers, people like me on this webinar, they wake up every morning feeling something that they rarely talk about. And it's that quiet voice inside that whispers, there has to be more than this. That feeling that despite all your achievements, all your success, there's something that is fundamentally missing. And I'll tell you that I know that feeling intimately. And if you're here today, I suspect that you might know it too. You might feel it, but it's like you keep thinking, hey, I think something's missing. Keep that. I want you to hold on to that thought. What you're looking at here is a success prison, right? It's beautiful. It's golden bars. from the outside, it's everything that we're taught to want, the prestigious career, the comfortable lifestyle, the admiration of others. But here's what most people don't talk about, right? They're golden bars, but they're still bars. And the most dangerous prison is the one that you don't even know that you're in. And I remember standing in my walk-in closet on Sunday morning, surrounded by everything that I'd worked so hard for, all the trappings of success. And in that moment, I felt more trapped than ever. I remember thinking, this can't be it. And when you start having that feeling, when you see it, you almost can't unsee it anymore. You can't unfeel it because there's something tugging at your heart that, like, I want more. I'm supposed to do more. My impact is bigger than where I am today. So I want to share a story with you about Dr. S. And I called her Dr. S for privacy, but she gave me permission to share her story. But before I do, I want you to think about your own Sunday evenings. How do you feel on Sunday evening before the week starts? Because Dr. S's story might feel pretty familiar. So picture this. It's 6:45 p.m. on a Sunday, and the hospital parking lot is almost empty, right? And she sits in her car. She is a renowned surgeon, a respected leader, and in all terms, she is living the dream. By every sort of external measure, it feels like she's living the dream. But she's been sitting there for 20 minutes, unable to turn the key in the ignition. She's thinking, the weight of another week, it feels really heavy on her chest. And her phone buzzes, and it's another email from the board. It's 8:30, so her kids are probably asleep again, and she'll leave too early tomorrow morning, so she'll miss breakfast again. But all of that, she understands that those are the responsibilities that she took on. But what's really keeping her in the car, it's not the long hours or the endless responsibilities. It's the question that hits her every Sunday night. And that question is this all there is? Is this all that she's worked hard for? That's what she keeps thinking about. And I know some of you are thinking about that right now. Whether it's Sunday, whether it's a weekday, you keep thinking, is this all I worked hard for? Is there more? And I know this feeling. I know the feeling that she felt very well, because not too long ago, that was me. I was an ER physician, or I am an ER physician. And to my friends, to my family, I was the epitome of success by most standards. I had the title, I had the respect, I had the paycheck. But what nobody saw was me sitting in my driveway after a long shift, 2:30 a.m., a particularly very difficult shift, overwhelmed by that gnawing feeling that I was living someone else's definition of success. That somehow, in achieving everything I was supposed to want, I had really lost touch with what I actually needed. And like you, I felt like I was meant for more. I felt this pull towards something bigger. And like Dr. S, maybe some of you might feel that right now. But I was terrified of letting go of the unknown of the known for the unknown. Because I thought, well, what I have right now is better than the possibility of creating something else. But what I discovered next, guys, changed my life. It transformed how I understand success itself. And that is exactly what I want to share with you today. Today, my life looks different, radically different. You might not know me a few years ago, but it does. And yes, I've built a real estate investment firm. And yes, I've created multiple streams of income. But I tell you that the real transformation is not in my bank account. It is how I wake up every single morning. Recently, I got the opportunity to drop everything and to travel to teach life support care to healthcare professionals in Anguilla, something that would have never been impossible in my old life. But in that moment, I realized something profound, right? It's that the real achievement, it's not breaking free from the success prison. Yes, that is something of its own, but it's building a life that expands rather than contracts. It's a life where success serves you and not the other way around. And I realized that I had started to build that. I will tell you this, that feeling that you have, that pull towards something more, it's not random and it's not wrong. it also doesn't mean that like everything that you've worked for up to this point is for nothing. It's building you to the person that you are today, and it has given you the tools that you need to move forward. But that feeling is your expansive life that's calling you forward. The only question is, are you ready to answer that call? But before we go further, I want to show you something that might shock you, but it will absolutely validate what you've been feeling. And I think, as hard as it may sound, I think it's a good thing. And it's something that I call the success paradox. And what I'm about to tell you might challenge everything that you know about success. And the reason I want to share with you is because I think awareness is the first stage. It's the first step towards taking the leap to starting something amazing. But I think it'll also explain the things that you've been feeling that maybe nobody could explain, and that things that you were feeling that you thought that it was only you. You know, we've all seen the graph that shows how success should work, right? And if you're looking at the slide, you see it. You think it's the more achievement you get equals more fulfillment. And you can see the graph going up, and that's the perception, right? But what research actually shows is something different. It shows that as income goes up and as achievement goes up, life satisfaction actually goes down for 68% of high achievers. Hear that again. Income goes up, achievement goes up, life satisfaction actually goes down for about 68% of high achievers. Yes, you heard that right. And it is the best way I can explain it to you is that the more successful you become, the less satisfied and less fulfilled that you actually become. These numbers here also tell a story, and it's discussed in a lot of success circles. And let's kind of just go through them one by one real quickly. 85% of people actually feel stuck despite continued success. So think about that. You keep achieving more, but satisfaction keeps dropping. The best way I can describe it is like filling a bucket with a hole in it. So filling a bucket of water, but it has a hole in it. The more you add to it, it just keeps coming down. Like James was the CEO that I met at a conference, and every quarter his company kept hitting new records, and every year his bonuses kept getting bigger. But every achievement felt emptier than the last. And you might be wondering why. But then also 76% of people are trading their health for wealth. And this one is very easy. Like I can tell you, like working in the hospital till midnight, I don't eat the best. It's not great food, but it's what's available, right? When you're tired, you don't work out as much. Health just becomes something that becomes on the back burner. Also, 71% of people are missing really important life moments. Birthday parties that you watch, quickly on FaceTime, and they just show who's in the room, or anniversaries that are celebrated a week or 2 weeks late, or family vacations that are cut short because of urgent meetings. And then the last one, which I think is the kind of hardest to swallow, is that 65% of people feel disconnected from their purpose. To me, I think it's probably the most devastating number of all. Because success without purpose, it's not success at all. And you can ask any successful person that question. It just feels like an expensive distraction. It's just something that, it just feels like an expensive distraction. The question that you'd ask yourself is, why am I doing all of this stuff if there's no purpose behind it? Okay, I want us to do some real math together. Not the kind that they teach you maybe in business school, but the kind that actually matters. So the average high achiever they actually lose about 3 hours per day in unfulfilling work. So that's 3 hours a day. You could say 5 days a week, or if they work 7 days a week, 7 days a week times 52 weeks in a year. That is 1,095 hours, or better yet, that's 45 days of your life every single year that is just lost on unfulfilled work. That's an entire month. That's an entire month and a half every year that's spent doing work that doesn't fulfill you. Now, multiply that by the years left in your career, or even look back and multiply that by the number of years that you've been doing the same thing. That number is a lot. The amount of time spent, for some in this call, it could be years. But the real cost is not just in hours, right? The real cost is what those hours mean. And so for some, it could be time with your kids where when they still want to spend time with you, right? And it's like, I don't get to spend time with them anymore. Or it's memories with an aging parent that you don't get to because it's spent doing unfulfilling work. Or it's a book that you wanted to write that you didn't get to write. Or it's a business. Some people here, it's a business that you wanted to join or you wanted to start that you didn't get the opportunity to. Or even more, it's the impact that you knew you could make if you had the time to do it. That is the real cost. That is what this time that you're losing is really costing you. So Harvard Business School, they recently published something really fascinating. And they did a research that showed that high achievers will sacrifice 40% of their potential income. That's what I said. They will sacrifice 40% of potential income by staying in the success trap, by staying in what they're doing right now. And to think that you're actually learning less than you could if you just ventured out, or if you thought, what else is out there? What have I been yearning for? And if it's even more than that, it's 67% of people, they actually lose, like by staying in the success trap, they lose their possible impact. So that's 2/3 of the difference that you could be making in the world completely gone. 89% of people, they lose their available opportunities. The opportunities just slip them by. When you think about that, like 90% of what you could possibly do never comes into view because you're trapped in traditional success or what you think success looks like. I remember really well when this came to life for me. I remember that I was no longer just trading my time for money, but I was also trading my potential for security. And some of you might also feel this way, or trading my impact for approval, or even trading my purpose for a paycheck. But there's good news, and we're getting to that. And that's the reason why I'm telling you this, right? You get to a moment where you see that these costs, they're costing you something significant. And when you get to that moment that you realize how costly it is, that's when you start to want to change. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Things have evolved over the years, right? This is something fascinating that I want to just share with you. Over generations, the definition of success has changed. So in the 1950s, success is beautifully simple. It was a steady job, a house in the suburbs, a family. Security was the goal, and it was clear when you achieved it. That's what it looked like in the 50s. And then in the 80s, something changed. Success became about climbing higher. So earning more, think Wall Street, think Gordon Gekko. The message was very clear. More is better, greed is good. And you just wanted to climb up the ladder. And then in the 2000s, we started hearing work-life balance. If you remember what that is. What is work-life balance, right? As if life is something that happened after you got home from work. As if balance was possible when you were really trading time for money. So what is work-life balance? And until today, we talk about it because I don't really know if we've really figured that out. But I think today, something drastically different is happening. Success is no longer about balance anymore. It feels like it's more about expansion. So it's now that it has come into your psyche that like you don't want to be trading time for money. So then you start thinking, well, how can I create impact and income simultaneously? Income, impact simultaneously. That's when we start. Today, that's what we're now thinking about. And that is something that you also have to start thinking about is what does creating more impact look like in terms of income? So before we break free, and we're getting there, we need to, I want you to clearly see the traps that keep us stuck, right? I've identified 3 that I think are really particularly dangerous. And the first is the golden handcuffs. We talk about it all the time. And I know you know this one. It's that you get this high salary and then it keeps you stuck. Those benefits become golden bars of your cage. So the more you make, your lifestyle is larger. You need more money to keep up with that. And then you feel stuck because you keep doing the same thing over and over. And it might not even be getting you exactly what you want. I remember I had this retirement contribution matching at my job. And you're like, yes, this is great, right? They're matching my retirement. But it almost felt like I was trading my soul for that match, right? Because when I calculated the real cost for my 3% match, what was it costing my health? What was it costing relationship? What was it costing purpose? I was paying way over that 3%. And so when you pause, which you're here today and you're thinking, when you pause, you're going to realize that what is that costing you? Now, the second one is time prison. And this one is a little sneaky because it looks like success from the outside, right? You're trading, what you're doing is you're trading irreplaceable life hours for replaceable dollars. You're missing moments that will never come back. And you're always waiting for someday to start living. So you're like, next year. You guys, COVID was 5 years ago, and 2024 felt like it was yesterday, but it was, if you think about it, 2024 January was a year ago, and that's how fast it's flying. And so someday, if you blink, someday can be 5 years, it can be 10 years. And the final trap some of us might be living in is something that I call the achievement addiction. And this might be, I think, the most dangerous because it masquerades as ambition. And there's nothing wrong with ambition, but it's how are you using that to move you forward? You know, the symptoms of this one are like, think about like you hit the goal and immediately you need a bigger goal because that was not enough. And nothing ever feels like it's enough, right? You're constantly seeking the next level of validation. Think about that analogy I told you about where you're pouring water into a bucket, but the bucket has a hole and you just have to keep going. I want this to get personal for a moment. I want you to really sit with these questions. And as I ask you these questions, if you can reflect or just toss something in the chat, I want you to share with others. But do you ever feel like the first thing that you do when you wake up is you check your phone? Be honest with you. Be honest with yourself. You know, is that something that you do? Because that could be a warning sign. Or secondly, you know, when Sunday comes around, you feel like you have this knot in your stomach about the week ahead. Like next week is coming. I can't wait for Friday. I can't wait for, I can't wait for the weekend. Think about that. And this is the big one, right? If you had a moment to answer this question, when was the last time that you felt truly, deeply alive? And not just successful, but really alive? Hear me when I tell you that these are not just habits, they are warning signs. And your life is trying to tell you something. You just truly have to start paying attention to it. But here's what's possible. Here's what's possible when you think about breaking free. And it's not theory, right? These are real results from real people. So imagine having the freedom to travel when you want, not just during approved vacation times, but you built a life that can happen if that's what you want. Or you're building multiple streams of income that work for you while you sleep. Or you're making an impact that outlives you. That's a big one for some. You know, you ask yourself, like, what am I doing every day that's moving me forward, that's moving my community forward? Or is it waking up every morning filled with genuine excitement? Imagine what that looks like. And if those are thoughts that you're like, I want to have, or I'm thinking about having, then these are questions that you have to ask yourself, and you have to be very, very honest. I had an encounter with a physician similar to where many of you are now. And I remember talking to him and how unhappy he was with where his life was going. He was very successful, but he said, am I making an impact that outlives me? And he took that question, he ran with it. And he walked away from what he thought he was supposed to be. And he built 3 wellness centers that now serves thousands more people. And he couldn't have done that with his limited practice. That's not balance. That was not work-life balance. That's not what he needed. He needed expansion, and he worked towards that. If you're sitting here and you're listening and you there's that feeling of wanting more, then know that it's possible. Know that you can build something bigger than traditional success that you're seeing here today. And I want you to keep remembering that. This is something that might shock you. You might think that the safe path is like right here, right now. You know, like you're like, this safe path is where I'm supposed to be on. But this safe path that you're on is probably the riskiest bet that you could take. Look at this picture, right? What you see on the surface. So think about an iceberg. I want you to think about that in your head. What you see on the surface. So as you're thinking about like, hey, I want to do this. Maybe I'm thinking about starting a business. I'm thinking about taking a leap. I'm thinking about building. You might be afraid because you might think that that temporary setback could look like a temporary pay cut, right? or the initial uncertainty, the fear of jumping in. That's what keeps people stuck. But then I want you to think about like the iceberg. What lies beneath the surface? That is the real cost. So it's not the temporary pay cut or what you could lose or the uncertainty or the few months of fear as you build something. The real cost is what's under the surface. And the real cost are dreams that are dying quietly in the name of being practical. It's a potential that never gets expressed. It's the impact that never gets made. And it's the legacy that never gets built. That is the real cost of staying quiet, of not following, of not living that expansive life. You know, you might be telling yourself like, this is the responsible choice. I made the responsible choice. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to work my 9 to 5, my weekends, I recoup and then I start all over. But I will tell you that what you're doing is death. It's like slow death by comfort. Because you're not challenging yourself, you're not pushing yourself. And to be honest with you, you probably are slowly dying. Okay, I want us to do some real math again. And it's not the kind of math that you see on your tax return, right? It's the kind of math that shows up in your real life. I want you to take your current income, whatever you're making, multiply it by the hours that you've worked, and then divide it by your free hours. That's your real hourly rate. But here's what's shocking, right? Those are just 3 factors. The factors that you don't consider, that you don't see, or you can't measure them really well, are missed opportunities, diminished health, lost relationships. Again, I always say impact that's never achieved. That is what you're losing every day that you decide to continue on this path. Okay, so I talked a little bit about all of this, but I want to bring this to real life. This is what staying safe could really be costing you. Number 1 is your health. And some of these statistics that I will throw at you are really staggering. So 78% of high achievers have chronic stress. So these are people that are always anxious, they don't know what's around the corner, and they might even be going into borderline depression. The average lifespan is decreased by 7 years. I want you to hear that. The average lifespan is decreased by 7 years. And then the quality of life is reduced by 43%. For what? Ask yourself that. For what? And when you think about relationships, relationship costs are a bit more permanent. And for some, this is something that you might be struggling with. But these are moments that you will never get back. And these are connections that will slowly fade, and deep relationships that will just become surface level. Is that something that you're dealing with? I will tell you this, and the more I build, the more I grow, the more I learn that relationships are the most important thing that you can have, because people will get you wherever you need to go. And so, are you burning those relationships? Are you burning those bridges? And then purpose. I think purpose might be the highest cost to each of us, because purpose feels like your dreams that are like perpetually on hold, that someday, then it never happens. Or it's your potential that never gets fully expressed, even though you know that you have something deep, deep down inside of you that needs to come out. Or it's impact that it's left unmade because you're staying stuck. And legacy might be the ultimate price, because then you ask yourself, what story will you leave behind? Like, what example are you setting, and what difference are you making? That's what you have to be thinking about. These are the hidden costs that staying stuck, staying where you are right now, is truly costing you. So remember Dr. S from earlier, right? This is what finally happened when she faced some of those costs. She went from burning out in the operating room to like thriving and owning her own practice. She did that. She went from missing dinners to making memories. And she went from helping hundreds to like impacting thousands. And she went from living someone else's dream to really creating her own legacy. And the turning point for her, it wasn't when she succeeded, because by every definition, she was successful. But it was when she redefined what success meant for her. And that's something that you all have to remember. What does success mean for you? And we will delve into that next. This is something that I created, and I've shared it with an intimate group of people, and they've seen significant wins just reframing their definition of success. Now, I think I have helped you understand what's at stake, but I want to share with you something that transformed my life, and I call it the expansion framework. And that's what I want to share with you. And I've seen success in my life, and others have seen success in theirs, and so I want to share it with you. But before I do, I need to address something that's really important, because I showed you the golden cages, right? And the bars. And that's not the biggest prison. The biggest prison are between your ears, and it's what's in your head. It's what you tell yourself every day. That is the biggest prison that you could be in. And the first critical shift that needs to change in your mindset is you have to go from either or to and. So it's no longer, it's this or that, but it's actually this and that. And I was talking to one of my mentors, and I was talking about how could I pivot from medicine? And the reason why I thought I couldn't pivot from medicine, because I thought I became a physician because I wanted to help people, because I saw medicine as the true definition of medicine was helping people. And he looked at me and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, "Who told you that your impact and your purpose could be enemies?" And he said, "Who told you that your impact and your purpose could be enemies?" And that, I had to pause and I had to understand what he meant. Because we've been taught for so long that it's either or. It's either success or fulfillment. It's either wealth or freedom. It's either impact or lifestyle. You can't have both. But what if that's the biggest lie that we've been sold? What if it really can be success and fulfillment? What if it can be wealth and freedom? Like, that is a real possibility, and we have to think that, but we have to first accept it, and we have to change our narrative and change the story. And yes, it can be impact and lifestyle. But the second mindset shift that needs to happen is, and I alluded to it earlier, you have to go from someday to today, right? Here's one thing that I know for certain: the perfect moment is a myth. But every day that you're staying stuck in this cage, it is costing you. What you don't know is that small steps that you create today will help to create big shifts tomorrow. But you just have to take that first step, that tiny step, whatever it is. It could be showing up here. This was the first step. This was like a tug telling you that, hey, I need to change. I need to do something else. I need more. And then you decided, hey, I'm going to show up here. I'm going to learn. I'm going to figure out. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to get an accountability partner that's going to help me. And then I'm going to take that step. And then the final mind shift that needs to happen is you need to go from what if I fail to what if I fly. You have to start understanding that that's not being reckless, right? You're not taking this massive risk. You're just following an intuition or a heart or something, and you're redefining what risk looks like. So I want to ask you this, and I just want you to pause for a second. What if the biggest risk isn't taking the leap? But what if the biggest risk is standing still while your one precious life that you're living is passing you by? What if that's the biggest risk? And you think the risk is maybe signing, like creating your LLC, or maybe the risk is buying that single family home. Maybe the risk is investing. And so maybe you think that's the risk. Or maybe the risk is, creating time to start writing your book. But the real risk is just watching your one precious life pass you by. That's the biggest risk. So I told you about the framework, but let me share with you the exact steps that make breaking free really inevitable. And this is in theory, right? This is your action plan. This is something that I call the first step is the clarity protocol. So it's not just goal setting. It's not goal setting. It really feels more like soul setting. And I want to look at 3 specific questions that I really want you to ask yourself. And if something comes up, share it in the comments. I want us to encourage each other. But what's truly calling you forward? What is it? What's that thing that is tugging at your heart? You know, what are you settling for less than you're capable of? What is that one thing? Then I want to ask you, what is possible when you break free? What does that look like? What does that feel like? You know, if you take the time to answer these questions honestly with total vulnerability, then the steps that you need to take you from this could be nothing short of life changing. But you have to do the work. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. You have to figure out your why. And then the next step is the permission principle, right? This is where we break the success rules that are holding us back. And it's these rules that that you should be grateful for what you have because others don't have it. But what if it's not what you want, right? Then I think that's enough to question it. Security is more than just security is more important than just fulfillment. That's what you have to start thinking about. And you cannot start until everything is perfect. That's a lie. If that's something that you're thinking about, like, I can't start until everything is perfect, not true. You can start right now. It's no longer someday, it's today. This is what you need to understand. It's the moment that you give yourself permission to write your own rules is the moment that everything starts to change. The moment that you start ignoring the opinion of others because it doesn't serve you. It's the moment that you then decide, you know what, I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to try. Even though I do it afraid, I'm still going to try. And if I fail, then that was one thing that didn't work. So I know I'm not going to do that again, and I'll try something else. And the final step, if you think about it, is implementing the expansion equation. And this is where possibility really becomes reality. And the three elements to this is that you have to remember that small wins, they compound daily. So think about it as the compound effect in anything that you're doing. It's a tiny win and a tiny win and a tiny win, and you keep stacking that on each other. And then when you start creating systems that make success inevitable, that's exactly what that could look like. And then you get support. Then you know you're not doing it alone, and you have a team that is coming alongside with you. After studying successful transitions, after studying like hundreds of people who had really successful transitions, there are very clear patterns that emerge, right? And I want to share with you some of those really critical ones. And the first step is, if you guessed it, they start before they're ready. And I noticed I didn't say that they were not prepared. I said they start before they're ready, because ready is a feeling and prepared is a state. So they started before they were ready, but they were very prepared. And that's something that you have to think about. Like, you cannot wait for the perfect moment, because I told you that perfect moment is a myth. And the second thing, that like people who have successfully transitioned, they build bridges and they don't burn them. So this isn't about making this dramatic exit, but it's about intelligent transitions. And a lot of us might be in this phase right now where we know that it's time to pivot, and we're starting to do the things, but we're not burning that bridge. Because every successful transition and every successful expansion that I've started with, you have to start creating before you leave. So build a foundation with what you have right now. Build a foundation while you're stable. Test out the ideas while you have security. And so if you fail, it's there. But then that foundation is not there forever, because at some point you will take the leap and you will move on to your more expansive life. And finally, I want you to focus on expansion. I want you to focus on expansion and not escape. This is very, very important, because if you are running away from something, you'll never run far enough. But if you are running towards something that is bigger than yourself, then you will find the strength every time. And it's strength that you didn't even know you had. Because I will tell you, when you're building something, or you're building something big, something that's really going to make a difference and that's going to touch lives, when you build something that is worth venturing into, it will be difficult. It will be very difficult. But when you know that you're running towards something bigger than yourself, then it'll be all worth it. And I will say this, nothing amazing comes without hard work. And so you have to know that in your expansion, you will work hard, but it will be for something. Okay, so this is where possibility becomes reality. So everyone, if you downloaded it, I want you to take out your expansion vision workbook, and I think we will post it again. So if you didn't get it the first time, my team should be standing by, and they're going to post it again. So I want the next few minutes to kind of shape your entire journey. This is what you'll do. I know it's a little late in the evening, but still, you showed up here. So I want you to find a comfortable position. And I told you to have a sheet of paper and a pen. And if you had a chance to print out the worksheets, then even better. Take a deep breath. This is not another goal-setting exercise. I want you to think about this as really mapping your freedom, right? So the first step is your current reality snapshot. And I'll just walk you through it a little quickly. And then you will take the time to kind of go through it on your own. But the first thing I want you to do is circle the success trap that resonates the most with you. And I want you to be ruthlessly honest. You'll get the best out of this if you're honest, if you're vulnerable. Because honestly, this is between you and yourself. I won't see it. This is between you and your future self, the self that you know that is like your expansive self. It's between you and that person. So when I said circle, is it the golden handcuffs? Is it the time prison? Is that what it is? Or is it the achievement addiction where you just keep wanting more? When will that stop? So I want you to circle that, and I just want you to pause and say, what is keeping me stuck right now? Now, I want you to rate your current fulfillment level. This is not your success level, right? This is really how fulfilled are you on a scale of 1 to 10? If you could really ask yourself that question honestly, what would you say that your fulfillment level is right now? And then finally, I want you to write down what staying stuck is actually costing you. What is it really costing you? What's the one thing that you can't get back? And I want to just give you some examples to think about the things that you could be losing if you're not honest with yourself. Maybe it's the lives that you could have transformed, or the innovations that never came to life because you didn't move. Or is it problems that like you were uniquely qualified and positioned to solve, but you didn't? Is it communities that you were called to serve, but you didn't get to serve them? Is it changes that you were meant to make that no one else could but you didn't do it? Is that what staying stuck is really costing you? Or is it the ripple effect of your unrealized potential? That could be it. Or it's the legacy opportunities that you missed out on. What is it costing you? I think the one thing that really, for me, I think personally, it was the compound effect of the delayed dreams, the someday, the I'll do it later. I told you that like it's 2025 already, and before we know it, it'll be a year. We'll be celebrating New Year's again, or it'll be 5, it'll be 10. That delay, those dreams that never materialized, that never came to life, is that what staying stuck is really costing you? And for some, it's people who are called to really impact the world, who are too afraid, or who are staying still, or who are staying stuck. I'll ask you again, what is it costing you? If you could be honest with yourself, to ask yourself that question. Now, as we go deeper, I want you to complete the statements in your workbook, or just think about it or write it out. But I want you to be specific. I want you to be honest. I want you to be brave, right? Why are you staying trapped? So I stay trapped because, what is the reason? And I want you to go beyond the surface. Is it fear? Is it security? Is it other people's opinions? You have to get to the point that the opinion of others is truly none of your business, because you know that you're called to do something bigger, something more. I continue this pattern because what daily action will you start doing in order to get you out of that cage? What decisions do you need to make? I break free by. What is one thing that you're doing? What's one bold move that you can make that excites you, that terrifies you? What is that? And I want you to know don't pick the biggest thing, just do the smallest thing. So it might not be buying the $10 million home or property today. It might just be starting the business. Or it might be finding an accountability partner to share your dreams, to hold you accountable. Or it just might be blocking 6 to 7 p.m. in the morning as a non-negotiable to help you create as your creation time, to dream, to act, to execute. What is it? What is that one step that you need to take today? Okay, so this will be the second worksheet that you'll get, which is the 30-day action plan template. The best way I can put it is this is where like dreams become decisions and decisions become destiny. So as we focus on 4 key areas, each one is designed almost to create some sort of momentum. But like I said, and I said it before, is you showed up here, you were excited to learn, this is the time to start taking action. So what is one trap that you need to break today? I want you to choose the smallest, most irritating, most annoying trap. Why? Because small wins, they really create unstoppable momentum. You just have to win one time to we're humans and we kind of feed off of that. So like you need one win to get you to the next win, to the next win. So why don't you pick something small that if you can break that, then it can build momentum. One, freedom to create. So what's one area that you need immediate autonomy? Is it time? Is it location? Is it decisions? What decision do you need to make for yourself right now? Make it specific, make it measurable. And then what about one, support to establish? So who needs to know about your expansion journey? Who needs to keep you accountable? Who needs to share in your wins? Who is that person? I want you to write it down. I want you to take action, because if you come here and you listen and you don't do anything about it, then it might end there. But who can celebrate in your wins? Who can hold you accountable? And what is one win to achieve? So what is one concrete result that you want to achieve in 30 days? Write it down. Make it visible. Make it verifiable. Write it somewhere. Write it on your wall. Imagine, and then allow yourself to dream. So imagine what that result could look like. So the research is clear. And as you're thinking about this, like I said, who can you do this with? So the one thing, I did a ton of research, and like I said, the research is very, very clear. 65%, like you are 65% more likely to achieve your goals when you share them with a committed community. And so I want you to activate that power right now. What I want to do today, one of the things that I'm really excited about to share with you today, is to introduce you to the Expansive Circle community. Remember that number, 65%. That number kept me stuck at night. Like, it kept me up at night, because I realized something profound during my transformation journey. And the hardest part actually wasn't knowing what to do, because I knew I had an idea of where I wanted to go, how I wanted to pivot. And the hardest part wasn't taking the first step. For me, the hardest part was feeling alone in that space between who I was and who I knew I had to become, because there was no one there I was by myself. I was alone in figuring out every step of the way. And you don't have to. I remember sitting in my car one night, and all of these epiphanies come after a long ER shift, but I knew that I needed to make a change. But I felt like no one would understand, because people just thought, yes, you're successful, you keep doing what you're doing. But I knew that in the change I wanted to make, nobody would understand. But every single successful person that I knew was caught up in the same trap, and they were all trying to break free, but we were all trying to do it alone. And that is why I created the Expansive Circle. If you're here, it's because you felt that pull towards something more, right? Every person here knows that there's bigger impact that they could make. There are bigger lives that they could touch. And every person here has wondered if they're the only person that feels the way they do. But you're not. But it feels that way because you're doing it alone. And I want you to know that you are not alone. And more importantly, you don't have to do this alone. And so the expansive circle, it's not just another networking group or professional association. It is a community of purpose-driven achievers who are truly committed to redefining what success looks like. And here is what kind of makes it different, right? It is real connection because you're surrounded by others who get it. People who don't want to feel alone together, but want to come together and create something really cool. It's people who understand the unique challenges of breaking free while maintaining excellence. It's people who like come together to celebrate wins because they really mean it, because they really want to. And then in our community, you'll get practical support. So you get direct access to those who have walked the path in creating something new, creating something brand new. We will have tons of resources and tools when you need them, and we'll continue to create more just based on your feedback. And then we'll definitely answer very specific questions that you might have. But all of that is great, but then you'll have continued growth. We will have monthly masterminds, we will have implementation workshops, and then we'll have expert sessions on like specific freedom building strategies. And that's what a community looks like, and that's what the expansive circle community looks like. We will share stories of people who have done it, who have felt the fear and still did it anyways. And it's really good to see people who were where you are today and to see what they could build and what they could do. That is the power of the right community. So today, you have a choice. As you came here tonight, you can try to start redefining, you could start redesigning your freedom alone. Or you can join a community of professionals who are excited to be expanding together. And I will say this, the research is clear. And that 65% isn't just a number. It's the difference between temporary change and lasting transformation. That's what that 65% is. So as part of this series, this 4-part series, you will have the opportunity to join our founding member circle for free. And I'm giving it to the first 100 people who register because I think it's really important. I think you showing up here today means that you want something more, that you're hungry and you want change. This will give you priority access to our monthly implementation sessions, and you will get direct connection to our success partners, and you'll get full access to all of the resource libraries. And I just saw what Kay said. It says it can't be reached. I will make sure we work on that. But more importantly, it gives you like a community of people who understand your journey and who are committed to your success. That is what you're going to get. But I want you to remember something, that every transformation in history is started through community. Every movement, every evolution, every significant change came from people who were coming together to create something bigger. And your expansion journey, it deserves nothing less. And so, yes, I will tell you this. For those of you who are excited to join, welcome. This is a start to something new, and this is a start to creating a change that even though it feels hard and it feels daunting, that you're starting something amazing. So your next 72 hours. So what this looks like, it's critical. Why is it critical? Because you need momentum, and momentum is your most precious asset right now. So don't lose that. Day one, I want you to complete your expansion map. So set aside 30 uninterrupted minutes, find an inspiring space, and then just go and plan and ask yourself those hard questions and answer them. And then when you join the community, and I'll make sure it's working, share one insight with someone in the community. Tag me for personal feedback, and in any way that I can help you grow, I want to do it. And then in day two, I want you to break one pattern. Remember, momentum is your most precious asset right now, so don't lose that. Identify a very small success trap that you can break and take one different action towards that. Then document the result. Again, share it. Share your win, no matter how small. You'd be surprised how amazing it could be. And then day three, in the next 72 hours, I want you to connect with us, right? I want you to join an accountability group in the community. And then I want you to schedule your fresh check-in call with your partner, because you have the option to do that. And then share with the community publicly. That is exactly how it starts. And then another thing to do is, as you succeed, help someone else come along. So support two members in their journey in how they're going. And so that's how it starts. So again, you're not walking this path alone, right? This path seems daunting. And I want to show you exactly how we'll support you along the way. If you just decide all you have to do today is make this decision that you want to change, you want something bigger, you're tired of living the success trap, living in the success trap, and you want something more. And so in the expansive circle, the link is working. The team just told me that it's working. You will get daily connections. One thing I forgot to tell you, is that when you sign up, there is a code. And I told you the first 100 people will get it free. I forgot to tell you the code. The code is founder. So it's FOUNDER. When you put that code in, anywhere you click join, it'll take you to a page. And when you put the word founder, you should get access to it. I forgot to tell you that because that's the most important part. So, but yes, so going back to how we're going to support you, there will be daily connection opportunities inside of the community, inside of the circle, and inside of the expansive circle community. There'll be weekly wins and celebrations. I will be there. If there's something that you're thinking about, if there's an idea if there's something that you want to kind of push forward with, I'll be there to answer it. And then there's tons of resource sharing. So you will have proven scripts, you have swipe files, we'll have templates of every sort to kind of help you grow in the ways that you need to. We'll have quick start guides that you need, whether it's starting a business, whether it's building, even if it's like starting to think about pivoting, if it's thinking about writing a book, we're creating all of that. And then you have direct support. So if you need technical support, it's there. Accountability tracking, it's there. And then we will eventually work on a form of like group coaching to really hold you accountable one-on-one. But the thing about it is that as you start implementing, you will have access and you have help. Okay, so before we wrap up today, I want to show you exactly what's coming in session 2, because I'm hoping that all of you will come back, and it's about designing your freedom. So next week, we'll deep dive into engineering your perfect day, hour by hour, what that looks like. And then we'll also figure out how to build wealth that creates and that serves your expansion. So what are the other streams of income that we need to be talking about, need to be thinking about? And then we'll start building systems that make freedom automatic. That is our next step. And then the most important thing, which you need to understand, is how to turn time into your greatest asset. That is the big thing that you need to be thinking about. And that's what you need to be doing. Okay, so I have one final thought before I jump into questions. And Alice, Alice, the link is www.myexpansivelife.com. So it's myexpansivelife.com. Okay, one final thought. A year from now, you'll look back at this moment and you'll realize today wasn't just another webinar. You just didn't decide to show up today. It was a day that you decided to choose expansion over containment. It was a day that you decided to choose possibility over security, and you decided to choose freedom over fear. That's what today marks. I remember like it was yesterday, kind of sitting where you're sitting and feeling what you're feeling. It's that mix of excitement and uncertainty. But I want to tell you what I wish that someone told me at that time. Someone had told me earlier, I wish someone had. It was that pull that you feel towards something more. It's not random. It's not wrong. It's your expansive life that's calling you forward. And so I want you to follow that. I want you to take that and don't let it die today. So you've started the work, right? The worksheets that we put has everything that you need to start. Take the time before our next session to go through it in detail, answer some hard questions, jump into the community. We're ready to support you. And the expansion team is waiting. The only question that you have to ask yourself today is, are you ready to begin? Are you ready to start? That's all you have to ask yourself. And if the answer to that is yes, then I will definitely see you in session 2, where we'll start designing your freedom together. And that's how it's going to go. And then from there, we will build on that. So I just wanted to tell you, thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time with us tonight. And I will say this, I want you to let your expansion begin. It starts today, and this is a time for you to, I want you to be excited. I want you to realize that like you're on the cusp of something really cool, something really amazing. I want you to be empowered, and I want you to walk into that feeling and walk into that with pride. So thank you so much for your time. Again, we will put the link. The link should be in the chat, and the link should also be up. So it is myexpansivelife.com. And in a week, we will come back for session 2, and we will build on what we learned today. Does anyone have any questions? If you have any questions, put it in the chat. I think that we were able to answer most of the questions in the chat already, but if you have any questions at all, please toss it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. Have any questions? Is everyone, you're very welcome. Has everyone gotten the link? Is the link working? I want to make sure. Okay, great. So again, thank you. So my expansive life, it's life beyond bounds. It's beyond what is, beyond what you're doing right now, beyond what's expected, and going beyond that. So I want you to inspire others with your story, just as you've been inspired. So go and take what you've learned today, spend the time. The biggest thing you can do for yourself is that what I told you, which is that momentum is your biggest asset. You have a plan for the next 72 hours, and then I'll see you in a week, and then we'll continue from there. So thank you so much. Let's make sure I think everyone said they got it. I got a thumbs up. So if anybody didn't get it, we will put the link in the chat one more time. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, sweet. No questions. Everyone have a wonderful evening. It was so nice to meet everyone, and I will see you again next week.